Hello. Hope everyone is well. The bond let Stephen and I crash stream. Nick Hill. I think Stephen did a stream tonight at 8. I'm not too sure. I could be wrong, but it seemed like he was going to do a stream tonight. Might be happening at the same time. For those of you who don't know, Stephen Barton of Gear Stuff and Things might have a stream going this evening. Anyhow, hello to everyone. Battle of the Streams. Rough Riffs, Benoise, or Benoisy, Nick Hill, Cosman, Gunky Zip, Rough Riffs, Guitar Nerd, Mr. Miles. Good to see you. I wasn't ready. Anthony Nieto, how are you, man? And Yiggity Yo, Jim J, Mr. Cosman. I have you both live. Mr. Cosman is watching both streams right now, which is amazing. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Hope everyone is well. Tonight we're just gonna kind of have some fun with some guitars, some baritone guitars, get into all of it. Benjamin, hello. Taramellos, I hope, is this like Taramellos the band? Because that's, if it is, that's incredible. Hello, Taramellos. Yeah, amazing. Beard Guy, good to see you. Strung Out, Noisy, B Noise 3. I wanted to change it, but I can't. Yeah, it's, you kind of get locked into your usernames. Unless you get to a certain size. If your channel gets to a certain size, I think you can negotiate with YouTube to change it. Seems like a lot of YouTubers, like Ryan Bruce, he used to be, his channel might have been different. I know Ola's used to be Feared SE, and then he changed it to his name, and there's a couple people that changed their channel names at a certain point when they got a lot bigger. But yeah, that's something that's going on. Hope everyone is well. Today we are getting into, let's get our notes here so I don't forget what I'm talking about. But today we are getting into, the baritones that I use the most around here. It's not about what I use, but it's just like getting into those guitars and, maybe what is preferable about them, and some of the things to look out for if you're going to get into them, and maybe just things to think about going forward with your own music stuff. But yeah, what baritones I use the most for this, everything around here, what I use them for, why I use them, how they're set up, like a lot of questions about string gauge and, what's up with the nut and what kind of pickups do you have in it and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get into the sort of why, the philosophies or the ideas behind that motivated any of those decisions, and maybe things that, for you to think about, for your own stuff. Typically the stream goes, in terms of the topic, it goes from about 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Excuse me. And then we just hang out in the chat from about 10:30 on to 11. And I tend to try and shut her down around 11. I'm always okay to go a little bit longer, although tonight I'm unbelievably tired. So we're going to play it by ear. But Igor, good to see you in there. Gunky Zip, Nick Hill, anything new? Yeah, we're going to get into some of that. We're going to do a little bit of news here first. And yeah, you're like, what, Bun? What's up with news? Are you like a network now? Damn right. We are the Bun Network of awesome stuff. So the very first thing we're going to get into right now is the news of the news, which is interesting. And why this is news for me is that it seems like baritone articles and blogs and all of that stuff is just exploding. This baritone thing, Bun pushing the baritone, maybe it's working. I don't think it's because of me, but yeah, it's like unbelievable amount of baritone articles in the over the course of the last couple months. I'm just like, what is happening? The baritone explosion. It's cool. It's weird though, because the number of models currently is going down. There are certain companies that are discontinuing their baritones, and yeah, but the hype of the baritone is going up. And yeah, kind of interesting. And the Squier Jazzmaster made like a full article on its own just because it's soaring in price right now. Like it's surging up to 2,000, over 2,000. I've seen them for over 2,000 on the used market. Not sure who's paying for them. Probably people with disposable incomes. But yeah, I found that was kind of interesting. And then secondly, second news piece here is going to be Bandcamp Friday. And what we got going for Bandcamp Friday is, for those of you who don't know, Bandcamp Friday happens the first Friday of every month. Next month may be the last one, but it's been going for the last year and a bit. And it's Bandcamp's attempt to waive the fees of, like waive their cut. They're waiving their cut for the artists and trying to help artists make a little bit more money, and also kind of, build up the hype of people coming into the Bandcamp ecosystem or Bandcamp world and all these sorts of things. So, good on Bandcamp. Thanks, Bandcamp, for making this platform that is awesome, but also where we can make more money and kind of build up the excitement for everything. I don't know. It's just really awesome. There's not much to say other than it's awesome. But I got a few pals on Bandcamp that, either release new stuff or just have some cool releases. And we're going to kick it off with my pal, Nick Hill. Many of you who are with me on the internet are also with Nick Hill, or are aware at least of Nick Hill. Nick Hill just teamed up with Stephen Barton. Stephen Barton, who may be streaming right now. According to the Cosman, he is streaming right now. But yeah, Nick Hill released this today, or I guess this week, but it's Bandcamp Friday and it's new. And Stephen Barton is the vocalist on it. So it's, Nick Hill stuff with vocals. Let's see if we can play some. There we go. It's awesome. I'm not sure if I will get flagged for this, but of note on this release that is cool is Nick has put up both the two vocal versions it's a 2-song EP, I guess, but also the instrumental versions are available for those of you who are just like, I need it instrumental. It's there. Cool move. I think I would do the same thing. Things are falling. I'm making a lot of noise. There we go. It's probably still making noise, but whatever. Anyhow, Nick Hill has a release on Bandcamp today. And what we'll do is we'll put it in those comments because, yeah, where are those comments? There we go. So yeah, that's Nick Hill's release. I put it in the feed. Oh, Anthony Nieto. I see what you did there. Hello. Thank you, sir. Friday hangs, baritones, and cheers. Cheers, beers. Beers, cheers. Hope you're well in that sunny Ohio, Mr. Anthony. Yeah. And I hope your release is doing well. Hope your new material is coming along, man. Stoked to hear it. But yeah, moving along on the Bandcamp pals, my pal Mastro also has a release here, and I'll put that into the stream as well. But Mastro is it's a very avant-garde kind of artistic death metal, angular death metal. It's really interesting. This particular release is a collaboration between him and Lindsay O. And it's really good. If you don't know Lindsay O, she's in a number of different projects. The credits are all down here. But yeah, you can follow up with her and all of her other stuff. But yeah, it's killer. We'll play a little bit of it. I think we'll be okay for a second. Oh. Yeah, I don't want to play too much because I don't want to get copyright strikes, but it's sick. I really, really, really love Mastro. It's just so artistic and amazing. But his link is in there. There's two more on the list here. We've got my pal Synth Chris, and I bring up Synth Chris a lot. Oh, I should go back just very quickly. Anoxia, this is done with a Solar A1.6 baritone tuned to A, drop A. And Mastro is a variety of custom-made 7-string baritones. Majority of his material that's up right now is in drop F, I believe. And you can reach out to him to find out more about the luthier that built him the guitars. They're amazing. Then there's Synth Chris. We're going to get to Synth Chris now. And he has a Strat conversion baritone. And it is a Warmoth neck, so 28.625. And and he makes all this stuff with that. And he goes so low. But like Berserk, he also uses synths, hence Synth Chris. But it's like all very heavy guitar-oriented stuff as well. Oh, wait, we want boss fight. Actually, boss fight. It's crazy. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to the guitar stuff. It's awesome. But yeah, he uses a Warmoth conversion for that, and he tunes so low, and it works out pretty good. And last on the list here is Stephen Barton, who happens to be streaming right now, as far as the Cosman is saying. Oh, wait. We've almost forgot. Synth Chris, we got to put him in the commentos here in the stream. It's Bandcamp Friday, so, if you like any of this stuff, or at least just explore it, it's pretty awesome. Bam. Quarantine. And lastly on the list, we've got Stephen Barton's project called Close the Hatch. And this is a band project. The other projects are sort of solo projects or collaborations, whereas this is officially a band project. But Stephen is sort of primarily at the helm of this project. And they use a variety of baritone guitars, a lot of parts baritones, kind of put together with parts, as well as EGCs, Electrical Guitar Company baritones. And their tuning range is somewhere between, A, low A, and low G, drop, standard, alternates, lots of different tunings. But very cool material here as well. I think Thorazine Empire was my attunement. But yeah, like I say, I can't play too much of these tracks, but really cool material and all baritone. And it's Bandcamp Friday. So, bam. So yeah, Baritone, Bandcamp Friday, pals, just good people. So yeah, I figured we'd do a little bit of that. And then we're going to get back to some bun life. Bun full screen life here. So let's go back to the chat. Let's take a look at who's showing up. So Anthony Nieto, you definitely showed up with that amazing jammer. Bun, the gents would love to tag team into the stream. I don't know how they could. I'm on a different software that does not accommodate guests. The software that we use for bandless is only for bandless, and this is a completely different thing. I see what they're saying. Right. Yeah, I can't. I don't have the technology here. This software could do it, but I would have to upgrade it. And I can't do that in the middle of the stream, and it's a little too expensive for me to pay by myself. But Rough Riff says, Miles does music. Yeah, I love it. Your music is sick. Awesome. I love that you guys are all kind of getting acquainted with each other's things, and yeah, making pals is the whole thing. As you know, as you can see here, I'm going to highlight this. Miles's comment here. You're going to see this a lot, but people just put the @ symbol before their username, and you can have a conversation with each other. Kind of just highlights the comment for the intended person. So you can have conversations in the chat. Very cool. Very cool. Highly recommended. So, yeah, get into that. Oh, there we go. Bam. Jason Oshasky. You're not that late. You're not late at all. You maybe missed like the fancy intro sequence, but not late. Hope you're well. Hope all is well in that Michigan, and everyone's safe and sound in your neck of the woods. Mr. Cosman, you're stoked on. He's like, wow, and sick. And I think you're reacting to the music. I can't see the chat when I'm got those windows up. But yeah, I'm glad you guys dig it. Lots of great music out there. And Gunky Zip, he's getting into that whatchamacallit, into that Bandcamp Friday. He's grabbing Anoxia and Mastro discography. And Synth Chris. Holy jumping. Awesome. Super stoked that you dig it, because yeah, awesome dudes. Oh, look at this. Look who just walked in. Mr. Synth Chris. How are you, man? Hope all is well. Yeah, I'm glad he digs it too, right? That's awesome. Sick tunes. But we're going to kind of get into it. As you guys know, I always do this thing here where I just kind of thank the folks with me. Oh, did I usually, yeah, I don't even have it ready, but this here is kind of like a little image of all the links. If you're interested in what is going on in Bunland, you can go just to the Bun. I got to type it because I forgot to copy it. .ca/links. Very easy. And maybe we'll put a www on that. W, bam. I type really fast. Not at all. Bam. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't link. Anyway, it gets out to all the places, and especially, you know, this here place known as the Patreon. I'd like to thank everyone with me at Patreon: Lucas, Mark, Kevin, Phil, Sean, Reaper Blog, Renato, Apoplexia, Donna, James, Brandon, Mr. Gloom, Computing Sound, Tyler, D23F65. I love that username for some reason. Mac, Ben, Eric, Jack, Adrian, J. Cruz, LD, Baritone Cult, Anthony Nieto, Mile, Tim Lambs, Derek, Dennis, and Andrew. Thank you very much to everyone with me over there, and as well, everyone with me at YouTube members, Jason Oshosky and Aiden Hiller. YouTube memberships, not as popular, but essentially it's the same. Like if you go with YouTube memberships or Patreon, that top tier of Patreon is the exact same as YouTube memberships, if you're wondering. But yeah, that's what's going on there, and just bun links that I dropped in there. That'll go to all that stuff, merch and all the rest of the business. Oh yeah, I got to update the merch. There's a bunch of merch that is being deprecated, no longer going to be printed. But excuse me, super chat from Mr. Miles. Thank you, Miles. I hope you are well. Miles is not exclusively a baritone guy, but he does have, by the way, I always want to bring this up because it's important. If you're interested in that Schecter C6, a lot of people ask me about it. I'm like, I don't have one and I can't get one, but Miles has one. So ask him about it. He also did a video on the bass whammy in order to drop down super low tune guitars in a more effective way. So if you are interested in any of that stuff, Miles is your guy. I can't say it enough times. In addition, he does all kinds of other awesome stuff, but to this particular crew, that might be of interest to you. Tyler Adams, hope you are well. Trying to listen while there we go. While Porsche Bro shows off his open headers. There's Porsche Bro outside. Amazing. And Gunky Sip says, in response to the old Synth Chris, is I've been starving for new decent music for so long. This is an oasis. Amazing. I'm stoked you dig it, Gunky Zip. Yeah, lots of awesome stuff going on out there. Cosman, I see what you did there. Thank you so much. Super chatting, super stoked, and just like marching forward with the Stoked Patrol, the Stoked Army. Is that a thing? Maybe it could be a thing. It should be a thing. But we're going to kind of get into it a little. The first thing, seeing as, kind of looping in with the Bandcamp Friday theme as well. I got to move stuff around. My screen is pretty big, but not quite big enough. What are we going to do first? We're going to do... Let's see. Bam. We're going to do this. All right. So, the Bun, Bandcamp. You're like, okay, Bun, we know it's Bandcamp Friday. We know you have music on Bandcamp. What's this all about? Well, today what we're going to do is in the spirit of Bandcamp Friday and just things going on there. The little tie in there. But we're going to talk about these three projects. So this here, I actually have them open. We'll just go there. So Bouquet, Metropolitan, or not Bouquet. Bouquet is the song. Wetlands. We're going to talk about Wetlands, Foreigns, and Venns. Three projects, music projects that I have. We'll go in order of Venns. Like we're going to go from the highest tuning to the lowest tuning. And we're going to kind of talk about what is going on with these projects in terms of guitars, the guitars used to do them. Not like they're masterfully crafted or anything like that, but they're okay. Turned out pretty well on quite budget kinds of things. But Venns is something that it was released first of all three of them. And it's short, it's fast. What do we got? Yeah, great. Lots, very, very loud. Screaming if you don't like screaming. But I like it. Great. I don't want to get too into it. Just give you an idea of what it is about. So Venns is tuned to A standard, and the guitar used for that recording is the, I guess we could go back to full screen for this for, bounce back and forth. My mouse, come on. There we go. So the guitar used is this Mike Mushok. It is a PRS SE. It is now discontinued, but you can still find them for pretty decent prices. On the reverb market, on the more, I don't know, commercial market, I guess you could call it, they're pretty expensive. But locally, I keep seeing them for, like $500, $400, $500, $600. So locally, you might be able to find one a little bit cheaper. But yeah, use this guitar for that recording. The pickups in it, people often ask these things, so we're going to talk about all of it. I put Invaders into this. I've said this a bunch of times, but there are Invaders, Seymour Duncan Invaders, SH8. And they are very hot. It's interesting because another guitar we're going to look at, it's the same rating, 16.6 K of output, but these are hotter and they're a little bit mushy, but I think for the Venns thing, it's fine. Let's take a listen to it. But the tuning is great. Sorry about that. And we got Venns. Let's go to this here. What's that? Some Helix? Bam. Great. Bam. Wonderful. Oh, I want the Helix. Come on. You can see the Helix, but I can't. Right. So this is just a Helix patch. And this is one of my Venns tones, whatever. Pretty simple. As you can see, it's just like a distortion or it's a overdrive, horizon drive into rev red, a double cab setup, and an EQ at the end just to kind of clean up the fizz. But pretty simple patch. The gate in this patch is being handled here in the system gate. I believe it's disabled here, or no, the gate is on here. What if we turn it off? Not very fast. Fast enough. Anyway, so the Mike Mushok, with the Invaders, and I used a patch that sounded similar to this. I changed strings today and it's not perfectly in, but anyway. The strings that are on it, if you want to tune down to A, and you don't need it too tight if you want. So the scale length on this guitar is 27.75 inches in scale. It's almost 28, but not quite. And you'll notice, like I have let's go back to the full size camera here. You'll notice, there we go. The saddle for the low string is quite a ways back. It's, it needs, it's almost not long enough. I don't know why. You'd think 27.75 inches in scale would be more than adequate for A, but for some reason this guitar, it's a little bit finicky with that. Oh, nice. But the strings on it are currently right now are D'Addario. I got a set here. Bam. The D'Addario 13 to 62. Is it? Yeah, 13 to 62. Baritone strings. How's that? How's the light? Light's terrible. Can't see. I don't know what I'm doing. But A standard, A1 standard, and those D'Addarios. And yeah, it's pretty slinky. sweep. Anyway, but you can move around quite a bit. Like they're pretty light in A. So if you play solos or whatever, it's probably going to be okay. If you like it tighter, you can go 14 to 68, and it's quite tight in 14 to 68. With a 14 to 68 on this guitar in A standard, it gets pretty dull. Like the scale length plus the heavy string, like the shorter scale length plus the really heavy string and pretty tight, it dulls out the tone quite a bit. You don't get as rich of a chug. Even though these pickups are so hot, it's insane. Oh, wow. Anyway. But that's what's going on with this guitar. In terms of a bass that was paired with this for the material, what do we got here? Oh, interesting. We want to go here. Bam! Look at that. So for the bass that was used for this, that was an Ibanez, a 5-string Ibanez 35-inch scale BTB 705DX. And it was an amazing bass, and it did A really, really well. That 35-inch scale, really helped with that. I didn't have the 5-string because, it had 5 strings. It was the 5-string that was 35 inches in scale that I could get at that time. And BTBs, sometimes you can find 4-string versions of it. There have been a number of 4-string BTBs, Ibanez BTBs, 35-inch scale 4 strings. They do exist, but depends. I don't know if they exist now. I don't think so. I think, the BTB range is all kind of, they're going for that real boutique-y kind of thing going on. But anyway, so yeah, Venns was, this here guitar, and exactly in this configuration. And that's what it sounded like. The tones that I used on that record are actually pod tones, like Pod Pro, Pod HD Pro. And so this is all Pod HD Pro. And the stock cabs, like no IRs, no external IR loader or anything, just 100% Pod Pro or Pod HD Pro. Ugh. So that's it for that guitar. I do want to bring up another thing. The ESPs, they're 27 inches in scale. Let's go back to the camera, the main camera. They're 27 inches in scale. And this is a VB 400 series. I wonder how it sounds. Strings on this are a little bit. Sorry about that. Oh, not bad. Doesn't sound too bad for EMGs, actually. But so something about this guitar, I don't know if ESP or LTD is still doing this, and I don't know how well you can see this in the camera. Probably not great. It's tough to see. But this is a compensated nut, meaning it has different, it's compensated for intonation. We'll just say that rather than describe it. And I find for A, I got to change the nut on this because I can't quite get good tuning up the neck. There's something weird about it. Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad right now. It's probably out of tune and it's in tune. You know what I mean? It's yeah, I'm going to put a straight nut on it. it specifically for A, because the compensated nut is kind of compensated for B standard tuning. So if you're getting into one of these, I have this to do Venns stuff. 27 inches in scale should be perfectly fine for it. Technically it is. And yeah, so we're gonna see what that's all about in the near future. Not bad. But yeah, compensated nut might be a problem depending on what you want to do. Not sure if they still do the compensated nut on current models. This is quite a few years ago already, this one. So yeah, that's Venns. And we'll grab a few comments here. We'll if you have any questions about any of it, you know, now's the time about these particular guitars and all that kind of stuff. Holy jumping. Super chat from Gunky Zip. Thank you, Gunky Zip. You guys are wild. You're going wild. We're going to put this over here just so we can see a little bit better. Thank you, Gunky Zip. This channel is an oasis, just to confirm. Thanks, man. I'm stoked that you're stoked on it. And whatchamacallit, you know, Anthony Nieto is doing well tonight. He's always doing well. This guy, champion of the Discord as well. That secret Discord, highly top secret Discord. And Guitar Nerd says, Bun, if you see baritones in your locals, you're lucky. Around here, Craigslist is almost all Squier and knockoff brands. Yeah, I do live in the biggest city in Canada, which is an advantage in this particular way. Something to do, depending on where you live, whatnot, is, look if you have a car and you can drive and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people do, look in the neighboring towns as well. If you're doing Craigslist, if you live in Canada, there's an alternative to Craigslist called Kijiji. It's sort of like it's made by eBay, but it's like Craigslist, but really slick. And, it's by eBay, but it's the same idea. It's a listing for used stuff. And a lot of people use Kijiji to find stuff here, but yeah, seeking in neighboring towns and cities, is a good idea as well. There's also those sites like Let Go and stuff like that. I'm not sure how good they are for guitars and whatnot. Here, because we have Kijiji, it kind of reigns supreme. It is the number one thing. That and buns. I don't know if you guys have buns where you are, but buns is not really, used guitars are not a thing on buns, really. Anyhow. And Brody Cox says, hey all, how you doing, Brody Cox? Hope you are well. Beard Guy says that the LA used market is basically just as expensive as Reverb. I hate it here. Yeah. Certain markets, especially LA, it's, historically a music town. I don't know if it's much of a music town anymore, or if it is the music town now that it once was, back in the 80s and 90s, but it's still a music town. And like a lot of giggers in LA, a lot of jobbers in LA, a lot of studio guys in LA, a lot of demand for instruments, right? So the demand drives the prices up. You're almost better off to just go on a road trip to buy used guitars, and even like probably North California, which is pretty far away, but like Sacramento and stuff like that, it seems like the prices are usually a lot better. Last time I've been to Sacramento is a really long time ago. So I don't know. Beer Guy here, that Brody Cox is like, hear that loud and clear for sure. Yeah, the LA market sucks. I apologize. Maybe we can buy guitars here and ship them out to you guys. Like used guitars. Used guitars here are pretty cheap. And, oh, this is interesting. Gunky, oh, what? That's not the comment I clicked on. There we go. Okay. Guitar Nerd, yeah, seriously, who is paying full Fender USA price for J Tercer? Yeah, there are some really nice J Tercers. But yeah, are they worth a Fender? Any Fender? I don't know. Maybe. Like that Rosewood Telly J Tercer is pretty sweet. But yeah, I always wanted one of those. And there's also like a sort of secret J Tercer baritone that exists out there. I've only seen it once. But Cody is saying, hello, Cody. How are you? Has anyone ever tried taking the spring off the saddle to get a bit more length for intonation? Yes. So this is something, comes up quite a bit, and something to be mindful of and careful of with intonation adjustment. We'll grab a guitar for illustration purposes. So having too much intonation adjustment is actually bad. And the reason it's bad is because you may do the adjustment and it gets into tune at the 12th, but suddenly if you're attempting to tune for a range that is way outside of what the scale will support, then other notes will go out of tune lower down the neck. Your 12th will be fine, and then other notes will not tune at all, which is super frustrating. So on some bridges, the intonation travel is very limited to begin with. And if you take out the spring, you only gain like a very small amount more. But with this, like there's quite a bit of intonation play in it. And, you know, I don't really want to go any further in fear of more of the guitar being a problem, especially, you know, I play mostly down here. And I play probably 60% of the time down here and, 40% of the time up here. I need it all to be in tune, but there's more stuff down here, and a lot more triads and stuff like that. And that's where you really start to notice the intonation problems when you're playing chords that involve more than two notes. If you're just playing power chords, often you can get away with pretty bad tuning. And a fifth is interesting because it has low dissonance to begin with, and it has more room in it to kind of fudge around. I'm not recommending that you do, but it seems to be the case. But yeah, too much intonation adjustment can be a huge problem. If you push it too far because the tuning is way outside of the range, other parts of the guitar will go out of tune. It's very key to know. And Cosman has cut the spring down before, so shorten the spring. It's good to have that tension, like that spring on there, to keep the bridge saddle in position. A lot of the springs, like saddle springs, saddle springs, a lot of them aren't very strong, so sometimes they're not doing much to begin with, but it's good to have something in there. But here we go. Personally, so Strung Out says, personally, he prefers the Ernie Ball Mammoth Slinkies 12 to 62 to the 13 to 62 set. It gives it a more light top, heavy bottom feel to me, at least. Yeah. Cool thing about strings is like, it's a really easy way to kind of change things up and also affect the tone. But yeah, in terms of your feel and all that kind of stuff, it's a really affordable thing to fool around with, which is awesome. Ike, never too late, man. Never too late. Hope you're well, man. Happy Friday. Hope your week was, smashing. It was an interesting week here in Toronto. They kind of opened things up a little bit, and then they're like, oh, all these variant cases and all these people getting all these people getting sick who weren't getting sick before, and the hospital filling up in like 24 hours and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, It's such a mess. I don't know what we're going to do because COVID's never going away. This is something that no one is talking about. You know, we're going to have to live with it forever. Thanks, Wuhan. It's crazy. Fooling around with viruses in labs for good reason, but Russell says, he came to the conclusion long ago that the only way to get the things I really want are to either find a near free one broken to hell or somehow build it myself. It's a nuisance. Yeah. Building it yourself though, I don't know. There's something amazing about that. If you can build your own stuff, yes, it's not as fast as going to the store and picking up a guitar, but typically you'll get something much nicer. That's for sure. Stoked that you can do that. That's amazing. And there are still some, he's saying there are still some SRC6s floating around. SRC6. Yeah, I have an SRC6 and yeah, they discontinued them. I've noticed on Ibanez site. But I use an SRC6 for one of my projects and we're going to talk about it a little bit in a little bit. Cool guitars, very cool guitars. Mr. Nieto, have a very good night. I hope you're well and we'll catch up with you in the Discord or, somewhere out there in the world of awesome. Hope you have an amazing weekend, man. Cosman says, should have got just one silent jack cable. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about this stuff, playing guitar on. So for those of you who don't know, I guess we're talking about inside stuff. Cosman made me some cables, coily red cables, and they're very, very nice. But he's saying one of them should have been with a switch, like an automatic silent switch on one end for situations like this, because where is it? That wouldn't happen. So yeah, you're smarter than I am, Cosman. We're going to move along to the next part of the topic here. For those of you just joining us, today we're talking about, the guitars that I have been using mostly, like the staple guitars that I've been using, kind of why I've been using them and for those things. And maybe some of the things to look out for if you have those guitars and want to use them in similar ways or are looking to get into those guitars, and just, things to think about. But yeah, this one, pickup's way too hot. But great for A. Amazing for A. A standard. Moving along. Copy of camera. Let's go to the next here. Bam. So next we have foreigns. A lot of people who I'm connected with, know what's going on with foreigns. It's something I've been doing for a long time. It's kind of what I guess launched the channel with and all that. But foreigns, for those of you who don't know, it is, let's listen to part of the hit here. This seems to be the most popular song, Harbor. It's like slow, kind of sludgy, but not typical sludge, whatever. And then I think this end part. Listening to it now, it's like, I wish I would have recorded it a different way. But anyway, this is material that I kind of founded my whole baritone life on, I guess. and it's in G standard and G1 standard. And this is pretty old recording. And the main guitar that I have used for foreigns forever is, let's go back to the big old camera here, is the Ibanez RGIB6. And as much as I love the RGIB6s, there's a lot of things to kind of look out for if you're going to get into one. They're popping up used and they're still pretty affordable. And some of them are perfect mint, but a lot of them were made really fast. So some issues with this one. This is one of the first batches. This is a this one was made in 2013. And I can't remember how the serial number exactly works. There's information at every stage of the serial number, but I can't remember the sequence. Anyway, it was made in 2013. And so it's a very early one. And nice guitar, but when I got it, the neck was not seated wasn't bolted all the way down. And I was like, huh, wait a minute. This neck isn't mounted correctly. The big string ferrule, that is the dual purpose string ferrule for both a bass ball end and a guitar ball end, it just fell out, the first time I changed strings. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And there were a few weird things about the guitar. The frets really needed to be leveled immediately, and I had to get a new nut installed immediately. And this is the third nut that I got made for this guitar. Going forward, I make all my own nuts, but at the time I did not. But yeah, as much as I love the guitar, some of them come with a lot of challenges. They're made quick. They're made in the Curt factory. This in Indonesian Curt factory, Curt guitars, who makes great guitars. But yeah, they just make these things really fast. But they're 28 inches in scale. They tune to G. The reason I got into it, because I wanted to tune to G, and that difference going from the Mushok, which is 27.75, up to 28 inches, that just quarter inch more, especially with the triads and whatnot higher up the neck, all of that stuff tuned a lot better. And that's what I was looking for. So the other thing about the RGIBs, all of them, the RGIB6s and 21s, sorry. Something to think about with them is they all come with EMGs. This one I have put different pickups in. We'll talk about that in a moment. I changed the strings on a bunch of guitars today, so they're probably not perfectly in tune. Let's go to the whatchamacallit here. The Helix. There we go. And we'll grab the Foreigns SH6. Probably needs to be tuned, but that gate needs to be faster. But a little noisy, but whatever. But yeah, this is the Foreigns guitar, and it is 28 inches in scale. It is, tuned to G1 standard. So the pickups that I have put into it, let's go back to a bigger screen here. The pickups that are in it, the neck pickup, I've never used it for anything on a recording anyway. I jam on it, but it's a Seymour Duncan jazz pickup. But the bridge pickup is an SH6 Distortion, Seymour Duncan. And what's interesting about this pickup and the Invader is they're the same value. They're both 16.6K. But for some reason, this pickup is clearer. You know, it is not as dark and murky as the Invader. It is a little bit dark because it is a high output pickup. But it does a much better job of that, you know, the bow wow. And I love that bow wow. You get the idea. Anyhow, it is pretty good for G. What's better for G is 28.625, but 28 works. And I just wanted G to just kind of work. 28.625, my Telecaster conversion is that. Warmoth conversions are 28.625. Synth Chris, he's got a, Strat baritone Strat Warmoth conversion, 28.625, and he goes super low with it. I don't know how accurate the intonation is for his material high up the neck in terms of wide intervals and whatnot, but he doesn't really need it for that. He's doing the ultra brutals kind of stuff. He does some intervals, but a lot of it is a little bit lower and not as much of an issue, but you can push 28.625 pretty friggin' far. Pretty nutty. But yeah, the RGIB6, this is the main Foreigns guitar. I have the RGIB21 as well. I don't like it as much. It is very different. It feels completely different. The neck is completely different. There have been many neck profiles of the RGIBs. So that's another thing to consider if you're getting into the RGIB. If you play one, you're like, oh, I really like the RGIB. Don't bank on the neck. If you find one for sale somewhere, that it's going to be the same neck. Even with the new RGIB 21s, the necks are probably going to be different from batch to batch. Like a lot different, not just a tiny amount. Traditionally, the differences across batches of RGIB 21s and their neck profiles and neck feel and everything, completely different. My experience has been, I've played probably about 6 or 7 different RGIBs, 6s and 21s, and they've all felt quite a bit different. There's been a few that are really close from the same model year, obviously, but even in the same model year, if there's multiple batches, could be a thing, which is weird because the SRC6 that has come up already, that guitar seems super consistent. My pal Artie, he has an older, like original mahogany SRC6, and I have one of the Jatoba ones, like the newer ones, and they feel super similar, the neck profile and all that. And I think they are, I guess, a premium instrument. They're probably a little bit more attention to detail in terms of the manufacturing routine or whatever. But yeah, something to think about getting into the RGIBs. They're a sought after instrument. People are really in love with them. I understand. I love them. There's just something about RGs in general that I really like. It's a really classic looking guitar, really simple, like really clean and simple looking, black with the white binding. And it's just a clean, awesome looking guitar. They usually play decently, or you can get them playing decently. They're simple, right? So they're easy to set up, unless you have a Floyd or whatever. But a fixed bridge RG, very simple guitar to get playing well, unless there's a serious flaw with it. But otherwise, you can usually work with them pretty easily. So yeah, RGs are just, on my list of the most awesome guitars in the world. And yeah, I'm not even like a Super Strat fan, but I love RGs a lot. So I get it why a lot of other people are like, whoa, RGs, I need an RG, because they're pretty awesome. But is it the best guitar in the world, the RGIB6 or the RGIB21? Some people like lust after them. I'm like, they're not that good. I like them, but I like them sort of roundaboutly after working on them and changing a bunch of stuff in them and really setting them up. And which, if you're not going to be able to get into that, might be a real downer. If you get into the instrument, like if you're not able to kind of work with the instrument that way, it might be a big downer. The Chapman stuff typically is a little bit better out of the box. Although I had a weird Chapman experience that they fixed though. They fixed it immediately. They're like, no problem. So that was awesome. Whereas Ibanez, you try and get a hold of Ibanez for anything. No way. They're never going to answer your call. So that's cool. But yeah, Foreigns. Only one guitar, still the guitar that I'm using. Let's go here. It, just to give you an example, we'll listen just real quick here. So that's, the original sort of Foreigns tone. And if we move up here to the last thing I did for Foreigns, it's a bit more lively. Exact same guitar, a little bit better of a tone. And then this haul ass tune right here. But anyway, lots of like ringing chords. And the cool thing about the RG is that, it kind of rings out in a nice way if it's nicely set up. And all these tones are just the RGIB. No active pickups though. It's the Seymour Duncan SH6. The other cool thing about this pickup, if you go for something like that in as a replacement for your RG is, or any guitar, is you actually don't need a lot of amp gain at all. And it breaks up pretty nice. So that's something. I didn't change the screen, or did I? Maybe I did. This? I don't know. I think you know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, this is the tunes I was just playing. So that's what I was talking about. If I didn't change the screen, I don't think I did. Apologies. A lot to manage here as a solo broadcaster. So Russell says, you ain't heard Ms. Relu till you heard it ripped out on a 28-inch scale guitar. Yeah, man, that would be sick. Cosman says, Bun, on the VB400, I had one and ESP said they put those nuts on some that did not have the bridge in the right place. I had to put a straight nut on it. Oh, okay. Did not have the bridge in the right place. Whoa. Imagine. And then still selling those guitars. I don't know. It seems to be working. But yeah, wild. A company like, they don't make them. The LTDs, they're made in probably by Samick or Curt or something like that as well. And Moon Boogie N8, Moon Boogie Nate. I see what you did there with that cool username. How are you, Moon Boogie? I hope all is well. Just bought a Gretsch. Am I on the right screen? Yes. Just bought a Gretsch baritone, jet baritone. Bun made it sound real good. I'm diving into the baritone world. Oh, sick. The Gretsch that's an amazing guitar. I'm still not sure what I'm exactly going to use the Gretsch for. I was originally going to switch from the RGIB to the Gretsch. But in order to do that, I would want to get another Gretsch, which I could, but I do have two RGIBs but I got to just switch the pickups in one of them. And switching pickups in the Gretches is a little bit harder, although the stock pickups sound really good. The beautiful thing about the Gretsch is you don't really have to change the pickups in them. The stock cheapo pickups are really impressive, or at least I think so, and kind of unique sounding. Low output, so they're clean. They have a really clean kind of gain character to them. You have to push them a little bit harder, but they end up working out pretty good. But still, I'm kind of looking for something a little different. I'm looking for that bow wow wow, you know. You can see the string like just shaking. You think I picked too hard? But yeah, the bow wow wow. So I kind of need a pickup that really emphasizes that bow wow wow. Maybe I don't need the bow wow wow anymore. I don't know. But Moon Boogie, yeah, the Gretsch, sweet. I'm not sure what I'm going to use mine for exactly in the end, but I'd like to start using it more. I play it a lot. Like I just sit down and play it a lot because it's such a sick guitar. It's very comfortable, very fun to play. And I even been fooling around with that Bigsby. I got the Bigsby one, right? Bam. There we go. Look who it is. It's my man, Baritone Cult. How are you? Finally down with amp repairs, or done with amp repairs. What were you fixing? The Mesa Triple Creme? Was it giving you problems? Retubing or something like that? Sorry to hear about your amp woes, but glad that it is done. For those of you who don't know, Baritone Cult is a baritone channel as well, and quite a bit of a different focus, like use of baritone guitars with a bunch of gear, with amps, with pedals, with all these sorts of things, as well as like I guess demos or kind of sit downs with various baritone models as well. But yeah, a little bit more well-rounded, or a little bit more varied in terms of the baritone stuffs. So if you dig that, check out Baritone Cult. And Guitar Nerd says he will stick with the PRS 277 because it has a hip shot style tail. I'm all about hip shot. Yeah, the hip shot stuff is really good. They don't fool around over there. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Russell is saying, I'm thinking maybe to get more options to buy upgrades from places like Warmoth, maybe swap out Barry neck. Yeah, the cool thing about like a Fender neck pocket is that you can, have many guitars with one body. And a Fender neck swap is so easy, especially if it's all set to go. My experience, the experiences are different across the board. Everyone has a slightly different experience with it, but my experiences with the whatchamacallit, with the swapping Warmoth stuff out, is it just went in, and if I wanted to go back to a 25.5, that was no problem. And also in the Warmoth world, you can go with a short scale. They have short scale conversion necks as well, like 24.75 or even shorter, maybe even 24 proper, like Mustang style conversion necks. So yeah, Warmoth is an interesting ecosystem or world to get into in terms of converting guitars and having more of a modular type of system if you're interested in that sort of thing, which is cool. And Shane is saying he's really tempted to buy the PRS 277, but I'd like to do a bass 6 tuning. Yeah, unfortunately, Shane, the scale length on the 277 is very, very short. And not to say that you can't tune it super low, but the strings get really big, and that relationship of like enough scale length and the right gauge of strings isn't going to happen. And the intonation is going to be a problem, and the gauge is going to be super heavy. So it's going to be a super dark kind of dead tone. And there's all those challenges. So if you want to get into the bass 6 thing, I highly recommend a 30-inch scale guitar. There's quite a few options for that these days. I have like a baritone guide, and a lot of those guitars are still available from 2019, I think it was the 2019 Guitar Roundup or the 2018 Guitar Roundup, like baritone guitar roundup, something like that. I can't even remember my own videos. But yeah, if you can go with 30-inch scale, you will be a lot happier because it just works, and it's like not even an issue. It's not like you have to really do anything. It just works, and it's awesome. So if you want to go for that super low thing, if you can find and afford a 30-inch, it's going to be your the ultimate road to travel. And Russell's saying is good necks are not cheap though. Yeah. Good is never cheap. Sometimes things of low cost are of great value. We see this sometimes. This is a topic that's been coming up a lot lately. The Rogue Sub-Zero baritones, those are an interesting, as well as the Harley Benton guitar basses, both of them 30 inches in scale. What's interesting about both of those instruments is they are very, very good value, and generally very reasonable, very surprising quality. Like they bat above their weight, they're hitting above their weight, those guitars, for their price. They're kind of like door crashers. I think, Gear for Music and Thomann are using those models to get people in the door and to convert people into customers for life, to consider using their retail services in the future because they bought this very affordable but very awesome guitar. Both of them that are essentially bass sixes, to buy this affordable but really great guitar, and it makes a huge impression on people. They're like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" You got to sell a lot of them to gross $100,000 though. With something like a silhouette, like an Ernie Ball silhouette bass, bass 6. It's not quite 30, it's 29 and 5/8, I believe, but that guitar is $2,500 or $2,600. So you only have to sell about 40 of those or 50 of those, something like that, to hit $100,000 gross sale. Whereas with like a Rogue Sub-Zero, you got to sell like 250 of them to get, and the profit margin, they're expensive instruments to sell because the profit margin on each guitar is very low. So you're doing like a 30%, profit, maybe even lower. And yeah, you got to sell so many to make any significant income, but it's all outsourced. So, but yeah, good stuff is not cheap. But maybe it's cheaper in the end because you only have to buy it once. That's something to think about. Like the Ernie Ball silhouette bass, bass guitar. It's a guitar. It's a bass 6, the one I'm talking about. But it's expensive, but yeah, it's like that instrument will be with you for the rest of your life. It's beautifully made, amazing. But yeah, good stuff, usually not cheap, or really good stuff, usually not cheap. Bam. Tim Wheeler says that Viper baritone inspired me to build an Ibanez AX120 flat block. I'll put some pics of it on the Discord if anyone wants to see the build. Yeah, I totally want to see that. Those are 27-inch, Tim? The AXs. And they're like a double cut. They're more like they're like sort of SG inspired, but more, I guess, like what is the like guild style double cut? But it's Ibanez's own thing. They're cool guitars. And Ike is saying ESP also has the LTD MH, the Horizon, MIG Horizon, I guess, 400 B-Berry with EMG 8581. Yeah. Yeah, for a while they had like a whole fleet of, pretty much every model in 27-inch scale. I wish the ESP would do not even ESP, LTD. I wish LTD would do a 28.5 or a 28.625. That would be so killer. Or if they did a 30, like a proper 30, kind of like a nice, slick, simple design, not one of their crazy things. It would just go crazy. It'd be awesome. Oh, what's up with my screen? Why is it so? Oh, here we go. Bam. We're going to move on to the next topic, and this is the last topic or last point in the topic. And if you're just joining us, the topic today is it's not about me, but it's the guitars that I use on the regular for key projects, why I use them, and some of the things, some of the shortcomings of those instruments, some of the benefits of those instruments, all that kind of stuff, so that if you're attempting to get into these things, these instruments, or you want to use them, use instruments of a certain quality in certain ways, some things to think about. That's all it's all about today. Let's click that. Bam. There we go. There's my screen. And so the next thing is the next and last of the points. We got it here. Bam. Is wetlands. And wetlands is in low E1 standard. I use bass sixes for it. You get the point. It's like an earth mover. It's really sludgy and gnarly and gross. It does not seek to be clear and tight metal at all. But we use 30-inch scale guitars for that. I use two 30-inch scale guitars for that. Let's go to, bam. Let's go to the big camera. Bam. There we go. So I got a picture going on here. That's cool. So for this project, I use the, Squier Jazzmaster Baritone. It is 30 inches in scale. For those of you who don't know, I feel like this guitar is like wickedly hyped right now. But some people are still finding them pretty inexpensive. Depends where you live and what's going on used locally. But on Reverb, they're like going for $2,000, but people are still finding them for like $400 or $500. The thing about selling it for $2,000 is you need to find the right buyer. And if you are in a small town in middle Ontario, Canada, the likelihood of finding a buyer for $2,000 in that area, unless you're willing to ship it, is highly unlikely, because it's not a very good guitar. It's just a very sought after guitar for whatever reason. But so it's a 30-inch scale guitar. It's, it's a lower priced guitar. It feels like one. It feels nice. It's nice for a lower priced instrument. All the classic vibe stuff is great value in that brand or in that line for quite a while now. But some of the things, if you're going to get into this guitar, it tunes down to low E1 standard easily. And very easily, because it's 30 inches in scale. It ships, or it did ship, in A tuning, A to A standard, but it's 30 inches in scale, like a bass 6. So using it as a bass 6 is no big deal. You just got to cut. You will have to cut the nut for the strings to, seat properly. But that's not a problem. Let's go to camera. Oh yeah. Let's go. Helix. Bam. Oh, not that one. This one. Bam. So yeah, this is just like the regular high gain tone. It's the foreigns tone on the bass 6. That's pretty fun. Anyway, what I use it for is this stuff. Gnarlier tones. That tune that we just listened to, this is the main tone of that first part. Just so sick and gross. How did it go? Oh yeah. And that one, it changes. The tone changes for that section. Something like that. I haven't played it since I recorded it. But yeah, the Jazzmaster baritone. This guitar comes with a lot of problems in terms of making it work. And a lot of people will say, it's like, oh, just use a noise gate. There's no, in the stock configuration, there's no noise gate that is going to help you, because with a stock Jazzmaster baritone, with any amount of gain in your tone, the noise of the electronics is always going to be louder than the actual signal, which is annoying. You know, now I've fully changed everything. Let's turn the gate off. Bam. Drive, bass. Bam, bam, bam. Oh yeah, I'm on the Helix screen. Off. There we go. So that's how much noise we have now, because I changed the pickup in it, and I got rid of a lot of the electronics, and I made sure that the ground went to something metal, the post for the bridge. They are so noisy when you first get them. It's unbelievable. But, and like I say, the noise is typically louder than the signal if you're using gain. Clean, they're pretty good. They're still noisy, but they're better clean with the stock configuration and pickups. But yeah, if you're going to get into this guitar, especially for $2,000, it's kind of a letdown. There's so much stuff that you got to deal with. So what I had to deal with mine, well, sorry, let's get full screen. Whoa, got comment still up there, Ike. Apologies. Or maybe it wasn't up there the whole time. Bam. There we go. So with this, there's the electronics problem, and how I remedied the electronics was I put a pickup wizard. The company that made this pickup is called Pickup Wizard. They're currently kind of temporarily shut down because of COVID or whatever, but it's proposed to be a sort of hybrid of a PAF and a wide range. Friends of mine who know wide ranges really well are, you know, not sure if that's accurate. But it sounds good. Sounds kind of like, you know, it's clear. It's not too high of output, which is great for super low tuning. If you have lower output, it will track the notes better. It will represent the notes in a more, I don't know, a clearer way. There'd just be more definition in the tone. Typically, not always, but typically. So yeah, it's an Alnico low output humbucker, and so that is one stage of getting the noise out of there. The neck pickup is completely disabled. The switch is completely disabled. The tone is completely disabled. And I just kept disabling things, like taking them out of the circuit, because it made a difference. And now I'm just pot, and it's a replaced pot. This is a 500. Oh, what am I doing? 500 meg or 500K rather, volume pot, alpha pot, or CTS pot actually. So pickup, pot, jack. That's it. And the jack is also replaced as Switchcraft jack. And yeah, that helped with the noise. Oh, and the internal grounding. It wasn't contacting any metal. Whoever wired this guitar in the factory just put some stuff in it and didn't bother. And this is the case for a lot of people. A lot of people discover this. They're like, it's not grounded at all. It doesn't go to ground. So, and yeah, this switch had grounding issues, like had a cold, it wasn't making to ground, it was breaking the ground circuit, all this kind of stuff. So the electronics are a huge pain in the butt with this guitar. Otherwise, the neck is pretty good. Usually some people have gotten bunk necks where there's a hump in the fretboard and you can't fix it. You'd have to replace the neck. It's like that bad. My pal already had one of those. And yeah, besides that, if you do get a good body and neck, they're good, usually good enough. That part's not too bad, but the electronics are a huge pain in the duty bottom. So be prepared for that. Setting them up is pretty easy, although like people complain about this bridge. They see the bridge and you can't see the bridge very well. Oh, there you go. Wait, damn it. It's a Dan Electro style bridge. If you want to put a higher quality bridge on it, I'm pretty sure a actual Dan Electro bridge, which is cast, which same design, but it'll just drop on and it's nice. If you want to go for, like, if you want to chrome out the hardware, I would prefer personally that the hardware wasn't black. I'm not a black hardware guy, but I don't really care that much either. But a Dan Electro bridge might be like a drag and drop kind of option. Not 100% sure on that, but I think it will work. And still a pain in the butt to adjust, but definitely a better bridge if you go with the Dan Electro thing. Some people have put hip shots on it, hip shot plate style bridges, and that was easy enough. Installing a bridge isn't that hard, actually. So yeah, the Jazzmaster. It's finally an okay instrument, but it took me a long time to figure it all out. In the set, I use 2 guitars for Wetlands. The other guitar is the SRC6. So I'm sure everybody knows what it's all about. What's cool about the SRC6 is it is 100% usable stock. You don't really have to fuss with anything. Very quiet, unbelievably quiet. Strings are totally dead. What do we got here? And let's go. So this is the fuzz tone. Very nice. It's really nice. Not what I think Ibanez thought of when they're like, nobody's going to use this for sludge anthems with terrible amounts of fuzz. I'm like, well, I am. What I really like about this instrument, besides some people love the look of it. I'm not a fan of the look. I wish it was more guitar-like. I think it's beautifully done. Like all of the finishing on it and everything is done like to a very high level, much higher level than the cost of the instrument. Although the instrument is not cheap. Here in Canada, it was $1,300 brand new. Amazing. I don't know. But yeah, it was one of the few instruments, this and the Gretsch, where I just got them home and I started playing them and they were good just the way they are. That doesn't happen too often. So the SRC6 is definitely that. It's got its own vibes, the EMG. A lot of people think that these pickups are active. They're not active. They're passive. The preamp is active. It's an active preamp, and it's only active if you use the active parts of it. So I just don't use the preamp. I use the pickup selector and the volume for the bridge. I don't even use the neck pickup at all, ever. And it's a nice sounding guitar. It's very great for recording, and it's very low noise and has a good tone. It's not really a nice tone for that. Let's go mid-gain tone. Wetlands mid-gain. Still a gate on there. It's kind of not very smooth, but anyway, you get the idea. Strings are dead on this right now, but this guitar works really well for the low stuff, and it does double duty as a bass. We've done this a million times, but it does the bass thing pretty decent. Wetlands bass amp. What do we got here? Ooh, that's pretty distorted. Oh, that's amp. There's no cabinet on that. Foreign's bass 2. What is that? Very low, but But yeah, you can use it as a bass, and it sounds pretty friggin' good as a bass. And the active EQ actually is really great if you use it as a bass. But yeah, I use this for Wetlands, and I use all these tones that we're looking at today. Oh, I don't have the tones on the screen. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure you get the idea. But I use a Helix for everything. I used to use a mix of things like the Pod HD Pro and Bias Effects and various plugins or whatever, but these days I use entirely just the Helix. This is a HX Stomp, and yeah, for the Wetlands stuff, all these patches are available on my website. If if that's something you're like, oh, that's an amazing tone. Sounds totally like a bass. And then let's go to the gain tone. Amazing. So yeah, Wetlands. Use 2 guitars for that. The Jazzmaster, cool guitar. I got into it when it was really cheap. I didn't buy it for $2,000. I can't believe people are paying $2,000 for it. But if for some reason you have one or you find one cheap, because you can actually still find them cheap, just got to be lucky, I guess, in not a major center. And then, so if you get into that, there's a lot of stuff to sort out, especially with electronics. And if you get into an SRC6, which is now discontinued as well, but you can still find them. They're still in stock in some stores. And they pop up used a lot. So This instrument is interesting because usually you can just get right into it and it doesn't really require a whole lot of attention, fixing or too much setup. It sets up really, really, really easy. Another thing to know about it. So let's go back to full camera here. So the, it is a lot more expensive. Well, no, the Jazzmaster is way more expensive now, unless you are super lucky. Anyway, so that's it. That's all about those guitars. If you have any questions about any of the guitars or whatever, I'm not a master of any of this stuff, but I have some experience with it. And if there's a curiosity you have, I might be able to help with stuff, or at least point you in a direction that will be helpful. It's the whole point of all of this. Yeah. Whatchamacallit? Baritone Cult says, Brother Bun, CL has deals. You gotta stay on it. CL's Craigslist in Michigan, close to Detroit and Chicago. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like here in Canada, the Craigslist thing has faded quite a bit just because of this thing called Kijiji. I realize Kijiji is not everywhere, but it's a major thing and it kind of overtook Craigslist here. But you can still find things on Craigslist. A lot of times things are just double posted though at Craigslist and Kijiji. Yeah, I feel like going the road of the lesser platforms or the lesser traveled platforms is always a good idea, because there's a lot of people who don't know what they have and don't know about selling stuff like guitars or whatever. And they're just like, I got stuck with this stupid guitar and maybe I can make $100 on it, and that's what they think. And they don't even know how to research it. So they just like, oh, I got a guitar for sale. And it happens to be like a 1962 Les Paul. So yeah, definitely always, if you're on the buying market, always check the smaller used things as well. So Russell says that Edwards is ESP's domestically built and sold brand, meaning I know Edwards, they make great guitars, but they're made in Japan, like domestically where? I'm not sure. Check out words. No. But yeah, they're great guitars. And they have some cool models like that have a real classic look, but it's their own look. They've done a good job of what they're doing. Cosman YouTube channel, new YouTube channel, Road Trip Guitars. Is that your YouTube channel, Cosman? Oh, right. I get what you're saying, because I said that earlier. Yeah, Road Trip Guitars, like just going on the road and trying to buy used guitars in weird markets in small towns and stuff like that. You gotta, maybe even take ads out and be like, hey, we're looking for weird guitars and what instruments, and show up in this parking lot at this time and maybe we'll buy your guitar. Lots going on here. Wait, Eastwood has a baritone resonator. So yeah, Eastwood is actually really interesting. They've expanded their baritone offerings significantly in the last couple of years. For the longest time, it was just the side jack and the side jack DLX, which were also available in left-hand models, thankfully. The strange thing about the side jacks is the scale length is always changing. It could be 27, 27.5, 27.75, or 28. And if you call them or message them or whatever and be like, hey, I want to buy one of these guitars, what's the scale length? Can you measure one? They'll just say, they won't measure it. They'll just say 28, and then you'll get a guitar and it'll probably not be 28 inches in scale. Because I know a lot of people that has happened to. But some people do end up with 28-inch ones. It's a weird thing. But anyhow, yeah, Eastwood is doing a bunch of different stuff. Their bass 6, they have a 30-inch scale side jack these days as well with a tremolo. And that is, it's very expensive, strangely. When I think of Eastwood, I think of value, like a value brand, but a lot of their stuff is very expensive now. But anyway, they have a bass 6, 30 inches in scale, and that is always 30 inches in scale, as far as I know. And the resonator is consistent, like the resonator baritone that you're talking about. That is a consistent 27-inch scale instrument, always 27, from what I understand. But for some reason, the side jacks, I guess they just make them in so many different factories, wherever they can get the best price. A pal of mine, Shice Squad guy from Baritone Obsessed Facebook group, he has a channel and he's gone through he collects side jacks and he's got tons and tons of them, and he's compared a whole bunch of them. He's like, yeah, they're like so different. They look like they're all kind of the same guitar, but they're all very different guitars. So yeah, interesting company. I like what they're doing. Their Revoltas, those are awesome. I want one so bad. But Darren is saying that he has a problem with a 26.5-inch scale Schecter 7-string. It has a tune-o-matic bridge, and the D string, it's in B standard, it never tunes at the 12th fret if I use a 24, but with 26, it tunes fine. Yeah, I've heard about this. My pal Artie definitely has certain strings that he uses in, like, on certain guitars for certain tunings in order to remedy an intonation shortcoming. He uses Telecasters with the shared bridge saddles. So they have limited adjustment, and he has to remedy it with specific strings as well. The thing about guitars, something to think about with guitars, is they're a pretty basic thing. There are some companies that make guitars that have advanced systems in order to try and remedy some of this stuff. Steinberger was one of those companies. They're like, oh, we want to like perfect the guitar. They went out of business a long time ago, but Ola's, like, not Ola England, Ola Strandberg. He's also kind of the mind to make guitars that work really, really well. But also sort of a balance between, advanced futuristic concepts and also certain classic elements to kind of bridge that gap. Yeah. In terms of perfect intonation, the only way to really get it is like a equal or true temperament neck or true temperament frets, or the frets are all actually, because if you tune a guitar to perfect pitch and let's say in theory it is perfectly intonated, if you keep the tuner on and fret notes, a lot of those notes are not going to land where they're supposed to. They're just going to be kind of approximate, and our ears are just sort of used to it. Yeah, tuning, it's such a pain in the butt. Cody says, thanks for the info. I have a Chapman V1 in drop G, and the intonation is still a bit sharp at the 12th, even with after having it set up by a professional. Yeah, it should, that guitar should, if it's a Chapman V1, like their ML1 baritone, I had one of those, and it's set up perfectly in G. So, I think I know what's going on. I always forget to this tip, but just try for kicks with the strings to push the string, the low string. You could do this with all the strings, but push the string down right at the edge of the bridge, like right at the edge of the saddle. Push it down so that the string is coming off of the saddle straight, like clean. A lot of times what happens is because the strings are slightly heavier in gauge and stiffer, and usually hex core, a lot of these strings now are hex core, so they're stiffer, they actually arc over the bridge and they don't make contact at the end of the bridge, and they will forever be sharp. If you push them down every time you do a string change, you only have to do it the one time. 9 times out of 10, this will remedy that situation that you speak of. And if it doesn't, then there's just something strangely wrong with the guitar. Because 28-inch scale should intonate for G without any issues. Drop G especially. Because, there's a little bit more tension. Well, that doesn't really make a difference. For G, it should intonate for G, no problem. But check that the string is breaking over the nut clean, like straight. And that's probably the issue. Often it is. But I hope that helps, Cody. Let me know what shakes out of that tree. I'm going to move along here. Dudecraft. Shane says, Dudecraft seems to build some cool stuff at a reasonable price for custom. Yeah. Captain James Nelson is not fooling around. That guy is a seriously great luthier, making really innovative instruments. He's 12-string baritones, or you can get configurations like 10-string, only certain strings doubled, whatever. Like, he'll kind of just build whatever you want. He's into weird stuff. He's like, you got a cool idea? That would be exciting to build. And yeah, he does a great job, and it just keeps getting better because he's so busy. He's like, there's no shortage of guitars for him to build. And his YouTube channel has taken off, and it's awesome. Yeah. Stoked that you know about Captain James and his Dudecraft. For those of you who don't, Dudecraft, awesome, just awesome guy. Great guitars. Moonboogie is love this EP. Oh, Harbor, the Foreigns Metropolitan. I'm stoked that you dig it. It was a wild thing for me to do. It was my first thing that I did completely solo, sort of. I already sort of helped me with it in the end, but like I wrote the whole thing solo, and I released it solo. Already did some of the second guitars on a few of the tracks, and he did a great job. But yeah, it was a wild thing. I was really nervous to do that, to go forward with Foreigns. It was my first time like where I was completely on the hook for it all. But yeah, it was an amazing exercise. I'm stoked some people dig it. That Harbor tune, for some reason, people are really crazy about that. The end riff. They're just like, that end riff. I'm like, I don't know. it's a riff I played. I don't know what to say. But I'm stoked you dig it. And Darren says he lives in a ghost town and it's hard to find strings to try and everything is expensive. Yeah. This is, a challenge for a lot of us. Is shipping difficult for you, Darren? In terms of buying online, is that add another challenge? Something that is good to do once in your life is to buy one pack of every set of strings that you might be interested in. I've done this many times. It's kind of expensive, but you only have to do it once. And it affords you the ability to be like, okay, I know what I like now. And also another road that's interesting is Stringjoy. What do we got here? Oh, I didn't really talk about strings on the last two guitars, but Stringjoy is an amazing company because they will not only will they build whatever you think you need, they have a great string calculator that's really easy to use and figure out like, what do I need in terms of tension, as far as tension goes for the tuning that I'm in at the scale length that I'm in. But also they have like consultation. You can message them and they're pretty great at getting back. And I think you can even call them and they're happy to talk to you and be like, oh, okay, this is what you want to do. Maybe try this, da, 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 da. They might even be able to make some sense of your intonation issues at certain string gauges in specific tunings. because, that's their whole business is strings. So I'm sorry that, it's difficult for you, but maybe some of those things are options. If not, I apologize. And Yakoito says Dan Electro 56 top. Yeah, it's my favorite. I want one so bad. Every time one with a Coke bottle headstock shows up, I'm not ready to get it. And they show up often enough, but I'm not like, I just don't have the money that day. I'm like, damn it. And they sell out instantly. Like people buy them right away. They're pretty popular. Beard Guy is playing those sweet Metropolitan jams for the ladies, and they're bugging out to it. They're moving their hips. They're like, ooh, these bun jams. It's always funny. My girlfriend, she will sometimes refer to some of my music as sexy. I'm like, I don't know if it's sexy. She's a great sport though. She's like 100% supportive and awesome. So that's great. Carlos says, hi everybody. A bit late. Never too late, Carlos. Not if it's Carlos. Carlos does what Carlos does when he does it. Never too late. Hope you're well, man. What we're talking about today is the guitars that I've been using, the primary guitars that I kind of reach for each of my 3 projects, which is Foreigns, Venns, and Wetlands. What those guitars are, what the tunings for them are, and some of the challenges of those guitars, and also some of the pluses of those guitars. You'll be able to catch the replay, but if there's any questions that you have, I'm happy to try and answer anything like that. Bertie Cox says, Carlos. Stoked. Jake, do you set your own action on your guitars? Yes. So I set my own action. I cut the nuts myself. I do all of it. These days I wire them too. I got a nicer soldering system now. So now I'm doing all my own wiring. I do as much as possible myself. Something, Jake, to consider if you're like, some people are worried about getting into this kind of stuff. One of the ways to look at it, if you do have a repair shop in your town, is a lot of things are really simple. Or really basic about a guitar. Guitar is not a very complex thing unless you get into like a Floyd Rose system, or maybe what does Nick Hill have? The Evertune. Evertune system is a little bit more of a fool around or whatever. But let's say a Telecaster or an RG, a standard fixed bridge RG. Very, very, very basic instruments. And easy to work on and hard to F up, really, really hard to get it wrong. And there's lots of great resources out there. I have a few resources on my YouTube channel on like how to do intonation and stuff like that. But I highly suggest if you do have a repair person in your town that you have access to, just try and do a basic setup yourself. And if you totally go sideways with it, you're going to go to the setup guy anyway. But try and do it first yourself and be like, okay, it's time for setup. I'm going to try it. And if it goes totally sideways, you just bring it to the setup guy. 9 times out of 10 though, you're going to figure it out because it's pretty simple stuff. Intonation is fret flat forward. Typically you want to do, the order of a setup is typically truss rod first because it is a fundamental setting. The neck position needs to be ideal before you start setting up other things around the neck. So set the truss rod first. Very easy. You're never going to set the truss rod with more than like a half turn. It's so rare unless it's really beyond repair. But typically setting the truss rod is pretty simple. You do that first. Then you would do something like action. So saddle neck, like saddle height, nut height, how deep the nut slots are. Make sure that the nut slots are cut to the width of the string gauge that you want to use. It's easier to get away with nut slots cut for bigger strings and going to smaller strings than it is to get away with strings that are too big and riding on top of the nut. So you typically want to cut the nut so that the strings are riding at the right height. You get better tone, better play, better everything. But yeah, so truss rod, action or string height, and then intonation, and pretty easy stuff. Am I missing anything there? Like you could do your own frets and stuff like that too. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just getting into doing my own frets, but for all of that stuff, it's good to have the appropriate files and all of that stuff, but they're not very expensive, which is great. Some people are like, oh, they're so expensive. I'm like, expensive compared to what? Like $120 for a full set of fret files. Not a lot of money, especially if it costs you $80 every time you get it done, or $300 every time you get it done. But it does cost you quite a bit in time and effort to learn how to do it really well. Patience. But yeah, I don't know. Try and do it yourself. Jake also says, thanks for the content. Just bought my first baritone. Awesome. Hope you love it. It's a wild world to get into. I was so jazzed when I finally kind of got into it properly and knew what I wanted to do with it. It was weird. The first time I had a baritone, which was a Viper 400B, not this one, a different one. I didn't really know what to do with it. It was just like, oh, low, but then I didn't have a plan. So it was a wasted opportunity. And, but moving forward in history or in time, I eventually got to the Mushok, and it just opened up a whole new world to me of thinking and tones. Being able to grab a lot of single note lines changes like how you think about melody and composing melody and using melody in a totality of a movement, not necessarily having to rely on chords, and how you can break chords up into, yeah, baritone is just so awesome for all that stuff. Anyhow, and Jake got the guitar he got was the Gretsch, the stop tail, the V tail Gretsch. Very awesome. Yeah, those are awesome guitars. And Guitar Nerd's putting a bare knuckle Warpig into his 277. Yeah, man, 277s are sick. I did a demo on one of them, a Honeyburst semi-hollow. Sick guitar. I wasn't crazy about the finish. It was Honeyburst and all, had all the stuff. I like things a little bit simpler. Lots of people like that stuff though. But the guitar was just like awesome to play, and it had an awesome sound. It had P90s, but yeah, I'm into putting hot pickups in those guitars. Super fun, hot and it's just screaming tone. Awesome. The Color of the London Fog, true story. Oh, you guys are talking about the Gretsch. I guess I clicked on the wrong one. Those are my favorite guitars. So Bryant, click out here. Bryant has some 7-string Ibanez's, some 7-string RGs, and a 7-string Conklin. I think the Conklin is probably in some kind of a baritone zone. Maybe a lot of them are. I don't know if yours are. I don't know if the 620 or the 621 are those the XL model 7-string RGs. The XLs are usually 27 inches in scale, or are yours the 25.5? I'm not sure. I don't know much about 7 strings, regretfully. And I'm not sure I don't want to intrude on someone's like inner chat type of thing. Guitar Nerd says, don't buy the Jazzmaster if they are more than $500 because you're getting scammed. Yeah, what you're paying for with a $2,000 Jazzmaster is scarcity. You're paying for the fact that a lot of people want that guitar, but there aren't very many of them available. So people are like, yeah, capitalizing on scarcity. Is it a good guitar? Is it a $2,000 instrument? Absolutely not. Not even close. Is it a cool instrument? Yeah, totally. It's totally cool, but it's not a $2,000 instrument, no matter which way you slice it. If you're made of money, it's no big deal though. You know, if you make, 10 grand a week, because there are people who do that. There are people who make 100 grand a week. Crazy money. So if you're one of those people, who cares? 2 grand is like $2. And that's something I think a lot of people don't really understand. Like, the world is a very diverse place, and there are people that money is just not a thing to even consider. They don't even care. They're just, money? What? Who cares about money? Audio not streaming. Oh, what happened? Did I mute my? Oh no, it's going. It must have. Oh, maybe I was. I can't copy that. Oh, I think I think the audio is working. Oh, don't buy that. Click that one out. Sorry there, Guitar Nerd. I just kept that going forever. Gonna grab a few more here. And Jim J says you should check me out on Bandcamp if you want. Can I can't copy that though. So what am I going to do? How am I going to do that? I can't seem to copy things out of the chat, which is actually kind of odd. If we were, I'm using a secondary software so that I can put the comments up on the screen. So it does have some other kinds of limitations, I guess. We can do it this way. We'll just good old fashioned typing. And where is that comment? It's now buried. There we go. So we've got, and let's change it over to that view. I need a bigger screen for this stuff. Bam, cam. There we go. And so we're going to go, where'd it go? Oh yeah. X, S, I can't see, YAN1, YAN1, and where is it again? D3. Bam. Oh. Bandcamp. Artist index, album cover art. Oh, damn it. That's not what I wanted. C, bam. Let's do this. There we go. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Bam. I don't think this episode is monetized, so I like it. I'm going to just skip and skim a little bit here. It's a mix of a whole bunch of different styles. Kind of like new metal-y, metal, kind of, I guess, goth kind of styles. It's well produced. Good job there, Jim J. I think I got the right one. I don't know. I can't see it not being that band. But yeah, good job. Cosman says, can hear it now. So that's good. Bam, 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 bam. But, hey, but I'm new here. I heard about you on Nick's channel. Bryant says, new here. Heard about you on Nick's channel. Are you taking questions? Yeah, it's kind of just a conversation. So questions are totally cool. I may not have all the answers. I never pretend to have all the answers. And do I ever talk pickup theory? I'm really struggling to figure out what I want to do with pickups on my Ibanez 8 strings. If you're doing like heavy stuff like metal kinds of tones, typically you want sort of a medium output, and, you know, tight bottom end, voiced for a tight bottom end. There's a lot of pickups that are designed specifically for that. The new Jupiter pickups from Seymour Duncan are really nice. The Titans from DiMarzio are really nice. If you don't want to spend like boutique prices. The Seymour Duncan Distortion is really nice. It's a little bit hotter, but it's cool for that low tune stuff. You want something where the bass is cut and the mids and treble are bumped up. You don't want a pickup that is scooped in the mids for low tuning stuff. And if you're doing 8 string and you're got a lot of high notes going on, you probably best to go with Alnico magnets because they're typically smoother sounding. Those pickups are usually a smoother high end. Ceramic pickups are a lot harsher and they're great for low frequency stuff. But, you know, if you're playing a lot of higher notes, the Alnico doesn't always kind of sing in the way that did I say Alnico? The ceramic stuff doesn't sing in the way that Alnico does. Often. There's, you know, tons of amazing ceramic pickups and tons of amazing Alnico pickups. It's a weird thing. Something I've just done, it's expensive, but I just keep trying pickups. And if you learn how to solder, it's a little bit cheaper to do. But yeah, Seymour Duncan and DiMarzio make a ton of great options, as well as there's Guitar Finish if you want to do a cheaper thing. There used to be able to buy carve-in pickups, and they were pretty nice, but I don't know if you can buy just pickups from them anymore. But a lot of the carve-in pickups were really nice. But yeah, DiMarzio and Seymour Duncan, not too expensive, lots of amazing options, and they have frequency graphs. So if you're looking at the pickup, it'll tell you what the frequency response is. You're looking for dipped low end and boosted mids and treble. And if you want that kind of, you know, modern metal bow wow kind of tone, typically a little bit more treble, like the treble's a little bit hotter, but you know, and significantly boosted mids. The mids themselves are like way up there. But yeah, it's a weird thing because something to consider with pickups is how you play. If you hit really hard with a certain kind of pick over a different kind of pick, or if you hit really light with a certain kind of pick over a different kind of pick, those things make a huge difference how the pickup reacts, how the string reacts with the pickup. Yeah. Can of worms those pickups are. And Tom says, hello, Tom. How are you? I hope you're well. Says, have I ever heard of seed kotetsu? Yes. I can never say it. Japanese brand, they do like 33 inch scale guitars. They're pretty cool. It's weird because the guitar bodies are still really small. And so they look gargantuanly long. But I've heard of them. They're pretty cool. And they made their way around a lot like they were really popular here at Baritone Obsessed Facebook group, kind of at the beginning of Baritone Obsessed Facebook group. There, people were sharing photos of those things like crazy, and a couple people got some. But yeah, cool instruments. Cool. I'd like to try one. I don't think I would personally buy one. I think I'd rather convert a bass, do a bass conversion. I've been, really into that idea lately. There's a bunch of ways I would go about it, but same idea though. But yeah, very cool. There's another company also, not just Seed. There's another company doing something similar. I think doing 32.5-inch scale guitars, and they have a range of them. They're all Telecasters. They're all based on Telecasters. Pretty cool. And Shane is, really tempted to get a Gretsch. If they had the red one, I might have impulse bought it because red is faster. And Beer Guide says, I might not know many 8-string pickups. They're the same. The 8-string pickups, like at least with Seymour Duncan and DiMarzio, you can get all of their pickups in usually every configuration, and you're looking for usually the same thing or similar things to super low tune baritone guitars. The main thing being that some 8-string players, they want the high notes to be smoother, and that's where the El Nico thing can be an advantage. Hard to say though, not knowing how a person plays, like not being in the room watching a person play and listening to it and all of that stuff is hard to speak to when you don't have that kind of data. But yes, pickups are pickups. They're not that special. They're not that complicated either. So yeah, I guess the point of that is don't be afraid of pickups, and try stuff out and read the graphs. Reading the graphs is not difficult. You can figure that out in a couple minutes. There's lots of information, and yeah, there's a reason why a boutique pickup company is born every 2 minutes because they're not too hard to get into. There's so much information out there to get it right. And thinking about it, boom. Why is that doing that? More interested in the pickup output into the standard metal setup of guitar, stomp, distortion, amp, etc. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Modelers and amps are so close these days. With a real amp, so if it's really low tune stuff, you got to work harder at it sometimes. The thing about the modeler is usually you're going to be able to find a combination of overdrive and model and amp model and all that kind of stuff that is going to work for your playing style and your music style a little bit more quickly. Whereas with an amp, like if you buy the wrong amp, there's no fixing that amp with different pedals. Like pedals can help, but some amps just aren't what it's a more difficult thing to navigate. Not impossible though. I used real amps for years and years, but it's all kind of the same. It's just the thing is like getting it right away. Good, pick up what kind of stomp box you're using, what kind of overdrive you're using, what kind of amp it's going into, what kind of cab it's going into, and what kind of mic is going to pick up the speaker. Those things are everything. Tough to say without knowing everything perfectly and being there. Because, I have friends who have I have a 5150 here. I have a 5153. Awesome amp. I know other people who have 5150s and their 5150 doesn't sound like mine. So yeah, it's a weird thing to navigate. Whereas with modelers, a modeler sounds like a modeler, sounds like a modeler, sounds like a modeler. Does it sound like every version of the real thing? No, it doesn't. But it usually sounds like a really good version of one of those things. So it's a little easier to speak to. That's why I bring it up. It's a little bit more predictable. And neck perfect. Lots of comments. Holy crumbarupiki. Is that a word? It's not a word. Yeah, I kind of got way behind there. Nick Grundy, how are you, man? I see you in there. Hope you are well. And DM Blackguard, I see you in there. How are you? And GT Rob, how are you? Hope all is well. And Zur, see you there. Some faces I haven't seen earlier, so I'm just saying hello to everyone. I'm going to be shutting her down here shortly, gang. I hope you had a fun time. As always, I kind of got taken away with, I just get right into a specific comment and go off on a tangent. Well, I guess I don't go off on tangents. I usually am specific to the topic, but I just stay there for a long time. And not sure. Bam. Brandon, how are you? Hope you were well. How did that Squier Jazzmaster 30-inch baritone get so expensive? I get demand versus price, but damn. Yeah. It's purely demand and shortage, shortage of available things. And I suspect that Fender is going to release another similar kind of thing, because they're like, yeah, if we build this guitar, it will sell out. Just like the Jazzmaster sold out when it was in fact in stock. They sold out all the time. At the end, in the beginning, it took a long time to start selling. It was not popular when it was first released, but then it got really popular. And then by the time they decided to kill the guitar before it got super popular, and then they killed it and they're like, oh, now it's really popular. Great. And then they did that Paranormal Telecaster, but a lot of people were like, why a 27-inch scale guitar? We want 30. It's a weird thing, but I suspect they're going to do another 30 of some kind. That may be what people want, or there's going to be some other company and be like, you know what, we're going to make something like that because Fender has no idea what they had, and we're going to sell 200,000 units of it, and it's going to be fine, and we're going to sell it for $700 or whatever, and everyone's going to get into it. Miles Does Music's got to dip out again. Bun, all the chat peoples, be well. Be well, Miles. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I'm going to dip out as well here. I'm so far behind. Holy jumping. Look at it. Look at who it is. Apoplexia. How are you? Strandberg guitars seem so awesome. I've played a few of them. They feel like the future. They look like the future, and they feel like the future. They feel every bit as I don't know, professional, like high end. They feel super high end in the hands. They're just they're very light. They're unbelievably balanced. They're very easy to play. It has that weird kind of neck profile thing that moves with your anatomic neck profile. They are really, really well made guitars, but what Guitar says, they are ugly. Guitar Nerd says, I hate anything headless. I'm not as passionate. I don't hate them, but I'm not jazzed about headless. Headless doesn't get me stoked. Although I think the Strandbergs are really well done. They sound really good. They play really good. I just I can't get excited about that kind of a look. Although I do think they do it really well. I think they've done it better than anybody else. And there's a ton of companies that copied them. So yeah. Oh, look at this guy. Tyler Adams. How are you? And he says, Stringjoy customer service. I'm way back in the chat. Apologies, guys. But Stringjoy customer service, probably because I brought it up earlier, is top notch. It is. It is over the top. Nick Hill and I have talked at length about this. Stringjoy is not fooling around. And, you know, they have a great formula of materials that they're using now. So the strings sound great and last, you know, an appropriate amount of time. They play great. They do feel a little bit different under the fingers. I find like the Curt Mangans and the Stringjoys. I'm like, oh, I can feel it. Like they feel different. Maybe it's placebo. I don't know, but yeah. But yeah, they're a fantastic company. But yeah, I've been using the Stringjoy 24 to 84 and 24 to 90. I've been mixing it up. I prefer the 84 for the 30-inch scale, E to E, like E1 standard tuning. It's a little floppier, but it's a better tone. And yeah, lighter strings always seem to sound better. I didn't think that would be the case when I was younger, but with enough experimentation, I'm like, yeah, your lighter strings usually sound better if you can get them to work. Like if it's too loose, it's a problem as well. But Kieran says heavy riffs are sexy. They are indeed. I love heavy riffs. Oh wow, I'm way back. I'm guessing that a lot of these comments happen, you know, during specific points of what I was chatting about. Jimbo Collins, I see you there. How are you, man? Hope all is well. And Sweetwater says more on order when I look for the Bass 6. Yeah, not sure about that, Jimbo. A reason I bring it up is because I've seen that before, and it's just like an item that is in their inventory tracking system, and their website is hooked up to it, and a person hasn't noticed that page yet who is in purchasing. So if you're in the purchasing department, you know what is actually discontinued and what isn't. I think that instrument is discontinued from Fender. And, you know, Fender is awful at taking discontinued items off of their website. Like the Jazzmaster is it's been discontinued for like 2 years or 3 years. It's still up there. It's so stupid. But yeah, it might just, it might just be like the result of an automated inventory tracking system that's hooked up to the website that's saying, you know, more on order, until somebody in purchasing actually notices. It's like, oh, this is actually discontinued. There's no more ever coming. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's going on. I hope that's not a bummer. You got your first Pfizer dose. Nice. Good luck to you and your family. I hope you stay safe and all that kind of stuff. It's a poo show here, man. We just went into we went out of like hard lockdown for like 3 days. And they're like, oh shoot. Like a whole bunch of people got sick like instantly because of these variants. And the hospitals just filled up, and now we're back in like a hard lockdown. And I'm just like, oh, what are we going to do? I don't want to really think about it. I don't think it's never going to go away ever. You know, we're going to have to figure out how to just live with it. But I hope you stay well, Jimbo. Yeah, you guys are all getting your shots. Nice. Good. I'm going to shut her down. Thank you very much to everyone who has participated in the stream. I kind of, as always, didn't get through all of the comments. I don't know if that will ever happen. I don't know what to do about that. I might actually get like get a little team thing going, where I have another administrator sort of picking through the comments while we're tackling topics and then putting them aside so that we can address them. I don't know. But I'm going to take off. Hope you guys are well and you had a fun night. It was fun for me. I was a little tired, but always have fun. I love this. I love all of this. It's amazing. So yeah, have a good weekend and get those riffs flowing. As always, thanks to everyone with me over at Patreon and YouTube memberships. I appreciate it in a huge, huge, huge way. Yeah, I don't even know what to say there. It's amazing. But I'm going to shut her down and, I hope you have an awesome weekend full of riffs. Cheers.